Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Kingsman The Secret Service, starring Colin Firth, Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson, Mark Strong, Taron Egerton, and Michael Caine, and directed by Matthew Vaughn. Now before I get into this review, I must confess I was really excited about this coming into the movie theaters when it was first coming out. And I saw it then, and this is my second and third viewing since theaters. And what did I think about it this time? Let's take a look, shall we? The movie opens in Middle East in the year 1997, and I love the way when the helicopters blow up a building and it turns into words for the productions that made the movie, and Colin Firth's character Harry fucking missed a bomb that explodes on the man that we find out is the main character's father, played by Taron Egerton, named Eggsy. And years later, after those opening sequences, we move on to a Professor Arnold, played by Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, getting rescued by Giselle, or Deville, or something like that. Excuse me for doing that. Played by the recent Mummy actress herself, Sofia Boutella. Forgive me if I said that wrong. With knives as her feet, and Valentine, played by Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson. And I love Miss Boutella's feet as knives, and Sammy motherfucking Jackson's character with the lisp. That's what I was doing there earlier with her name, so moving on. Merlin, played by Mark Strong from the first Kick-Ass movie, is a good mentor of Eggsy, played by, again, Taron Egerton, and sidekick of Harry. Am I the only one who thinks Eggsy's stepfather, Dean, is the biggest asshole there is, and the people who work for him are the biggest sons of bitches I've ever seen? Because when Eggsy breaks the mob worker's car by driving it and running into a car with it, it served them fucking right. Eggsy calls the number 12-1997, as in December 19th, 1997, to call help for Harry while at the police station after the stun at the car from the neck chain that Colin Firth's character Harry gives to Eggsy as a young boy at the very opening sequence. And Eggsy is a very good way for the plot to get going. I love the way Harry says, are we just going to stand here all day, or are we going to fight? And the way how Colin Firth pulls off the punches and Dean's men are at the bar, it was awesome, and it was just fucking brilliant the way how he said it. And he done all those fight moves. I first thought Colin Firth as wiry, but now I could see him kicking ass and fighting people like that. It was great. Dean tries to beat up Eggsy, and Harry interrupts the abusement of Dean, and Eggsy decides to join the trainings of the Kingsmen. And I love the way Harry intervenes Dean beating the hell out of Eggsy, because Eggsy was getting a beat down by Dean, which, what a prick, by the way, Dean is. And Eggsy escapes Dean and his goons, and Eggsy escapes with some moves that, like, Jesus, he's one tough son of a bitch, I'll tell you that much. The Kingsman Castle looks actually very nice and such a beautiful location. That makes me want to live there in England, if I were to be honest there. We get introduced to Roxy, and she and Eggsy survive the tests until she shoots her own dog and Eggsy doesn't, and we'll get to that sad scene at that point in the show. I actually like Roxy for her smarts, and she's actually pretty attractive in my opinion. While everyone gets a tube to breathe when they're underwater as a test, Eggsy first checks the door, then checks the two-way mirror. Is just a brilliant move from Eggsy. I thought the puppies were just the cutest thing ever. When I want one. I really want the puppy that Eggsy ends up having. I also like how Eggsy relates to this puppy and names his dog JB, as in Jack Bauer, from the TV show 24, who was the main character on that TV show and was played by Kiefer Sutherland, not in this movie, but in the TV show 24. Valentine puts the princess in captivity, and the fight between Giselle and the princess's bodyguards was actually a graphic scene in my mind, because she was cutting the hands and arms of the bodyguards, And it shows what a badass Giselle is, and her leg knives are very, very fucking dangerous. Roxy is afraid to skydive, while Eggsy does it. For the task, eventually Roxy does jump after Eggsy, and one of the recruits doesn't have a parachute. But we think it's either Eggsy or Roxy at first, and Roxy had one, so Eggsy had to hang on to her because he thinks he didn't have one. Until Merlin says he had it at the end of the scene, and I like that the scene keeps you on the edge of your seat. It was actually pretty cool in my mind. When Harry first meets with Valentine, I was like, oh shit, Valentine is thinking of killing Harry, but we'll get there to that. We'll get to that scene later in the movie, and then Valentine asks Harry if he watches spy movies, and they talk briefly about spy movies like James Bond, for example. And that was a good scene for its intensity. Eggsy notices when he and Roxy and the one guy, I forget his name off the top of my head, so forgive me. But the wine tastes funny until they all wake up on a set of a train tracks, and it was a test at the time. Now that was an unpredictable scene that turned out to be a setup, and it was great. I really loved it. Harry puts suits on and shows Eggsy weapons that the Kingsman uses and runs into Valentine. Was again very fucking intense in my mind, just the way those two actors played that scene against each other. I had a feeling that Valentine was going to kill Harry once again, folks. That scene when Michael Caine says to Eggsy, shoot the dog, and he can't, and I don't blame him because Eggsy is an animal lover, from what I'm getting under the impression of. The car crashing scene and that scene in general. But Roxy becomes one of the Kingsmen by shooting her dog. Kind of made me sad for an animal lover. I am an animal lover, in case anybody wanted to know that, because it made me sad. Dean gives Eggsy's mom a black eye, and Eggsy is about to beat his ass until Harry stops Eggsy and remotely drives him to Harry's own place. Was a little odd that after Eggsy failed the test, he gives him a talking to. I found that a little odd. We're now at a scene at a racist church, in I think Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken myself, when Valentine's plan starts to begin when Harry shoots a racist woman and a fight goes on around in the church. Why? Because of Valentine's cell phone invention on the app, that's a virus. Was a very brutal fight because Harry gets out of control and kills everyone and gets shot by Valentine, and he hates blood and violence and regrets shooting Harry. Valentine does. After he does, was an unexpected moment that Harry dies until next week's movie. We'll find out how he survives. Eggsy goes back to the Kingsmen, and Michael Caine says he's going to drink for Harry and do nothing to Valentine until Eggsy sees the scar that he learned earlier in the movie and realizes he's working for Valentine. And decides to switch drinks because Michael Caine puts a poison ahead of time, and Eggsy switches it out off screen, by the way, folks, which was brilliant. While looking at the paintings, and Michael Caine dies from it, was a good twist to switch the drinks while off screen. It's pretty brilliant. Merlin and Roxy and Eggsy make a good triple team to defeat Valentine for good. They just look awesome together. While everyone begins to rage each other because of Valentine's phone virus on his app, when Valentine and his scarred friends don't fight each other, and then Giselle versus Eggsy fight, was very fast-paced that I thought Eggsy was going to die. I thought Roxy would miss the satellites, and I thought Merlin can't stop Valentine's plot to use his hand to keep people killing other people, and I thought they were fucked by the time Eggsy throws Giselle's knife leg at Valentine to finish him off, which was a good thing, and it's a for good thing. And Eggsy kisses the princess as the credits are about to roll, and was just a great way to end such a good film. But there is one more scene before we get to the rating. And the scene during the credits I loved because Eggsy takes his mother away from Dean, and Dean talks trash to Eggsy as he walks away and throws the cup at Dean to knock him the fuck out. It was just fucking great way to end the film. Except, it's not Colin Firth saying it, but he was dead by that point, and we'll find out how he survives next week. Now, of all the waiting for, here's the rating. I'll give the movie a 8.4 out of 10. This movie has some great lines and great characters that I could connect with, and an awesome comic book film that I would watch again. It's kind of like Avengers territory, but we'll get there when we get there next year. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for The Secret Service of Kingsman, and I'll be back next week with Kingsman The Golden Circle. And until next time, put it back,